Hey, quick one before we kick off against Real Madrid in the UEFA Super Cup. After this transfer window, Restus and Diomanda at the back, Kudos replacing Openda. This squad looks stronger than ever. I think we're ready to take on the European giants. Let's get off to a great start.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 32 of Red Bull KloppBot here on SHOWDOWN FM with RB Leipzig. I hope you're doing well and come today. Going to run through a big transfer window going to our second season here at Leipzig, but our first full one. And off the back of that, going to take on Real Madrid in the UEFA Super Cup. Probably not with the KloppBot's hotspots over there in Göteborg in Sweden, just because there's quite a bit of transfer business that we do need to run through. But if you're looking forward to that coming up in today's episode, then do remember to go down below and leave a thumbs up on today's episode, all that good YouTube algorithmic stuff. But of course, yesterday played the Europa League final in 2025/26 when we did take on Lazio. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Also did the end of season review as well as check out how all the other Red Bull clubs are getting on. Pretty much the only team doing really poorly, our former club in Omiya Arudijin, unfortunately, hasn't got any better since yesterday's episode, but we have made our way through quite a few months in game, especially because this was an off-season where we did have the World Cup, which was won by Italy from him. We'll just go over and check that before we get stuck into the transfers that we did make. Had a transfer budget that was topped up by the club by about £18 million already, generated a bit more than that with some sales that were made prior to that window opening. Indeed, Italy did win that World Cup with a 1-0 win in the final over Denmark, of all teams, going back to the semis, and Denmark got past Uruguay, Italy thrashed Nigeria. So beefy Italy did look quite clearly like the best team in that competition. Quarterfinals, there you can see some of the results. Nigeria, they knocked out England. There's the round of 16, and going down to the second round, and no sign of New Zealand, unfortunately, so they're doing a bit worse than they did back in our New Zealand builder nation. But lots of transfers to run through going into our first full season here at RB Leipzig. To be fair, I did warn you guys that would be the case. Quite a few old players here with not a lot of extra potential. So it was a window where I did look to shift a fair few players on. We'll just go over here to the transfer history and start to make our way through this all. First up, we'll go back to last year, because we did sell a player late on in that previous season that we did play off the back of that Monaco quarterfinal in the Europa League, and that was Martin van der Voort, our former first choice goalkeeper up until Peter Galaxy usurped him off the back of his miserable performance in that first leg against Monaco. We sold him to Brentford for £15 million. You'd argue we probably should go a bit more there for the Belgian international, but he was just really poor when he did play for us last season. When we were here at RB Leipzig, he got sold there for £15 million. So that definitely meant we needed a new goalkeeper for this upcoming season, and that didn't get helped out by the fact, if we go over to the free transfers and release players, that two of our other free goalkeepers from last season, they actually retired. Janis Blaz, which we knew about from the moment we got here, to be fair, he didn't play at all, I think, for us when we were here last season. But more interestingly, Peter Galaxy retired off the back of that Europa League final, and he started for us in most of the big games late last season. So Galaxy is now an unemployed goalkeeping coach. To be fair, doesn't look very good at it, so I don't think we'll be hiring him, but he has retired off the back of that Europa League win. So it did mean only one goalkeeper in the squad going to the season did need to sign a couple instead of just one. And also Nuha Jada, he got released on a free as well, a homegrown club player, but not with a heck of a lot of potential. So going over the transfers that actually went through this season, once it ticked over in game, you can see there's a lot of money involved here. We've spent $231 million and got rid of $191 million. So to be fair, that's a little bit more than we had in our transfer budget. We'll touch on that right at the end, because that was because of that very last deal, which was a release clause that did get triggered. But first up, a couple of signings on freeze. The first two weren't actually made by us, so I don't think we need to touch on those two guys there, in Kulaza as well as Diamblozia. He's got a little bit of potential, but don't expect to see too much of those guys because they're not very good. First up, of course, one of the free signings that we made quite early, Xavi Simons coming in from Paris Saint-Germain. This is a big signing for us here. Unfortunately, picked up an injury in one of our preseason games before the Super Cup, so won't feature in the game we play in today's episode. But 24 years old, he's still got a lot of time on his side and looks really well suited to that shadow striker role we're going to use here at RB Leipzig. So he comes in as probably our highest profile signing in the off-season, even though it was on a free transfer, is on quite a big wage. But considering some of the players that we did let go of, that's not too bad. Of course, did come here on loan last season in real life and do a pretty good job. Hopefully can do something similar here for the remainder of our time here in the Bundesliga. Xabi Simons, probably our highest profile signing that we did make. And also we bought in a striker. We touched on this late on yesterday's episode. Uzziel Marban. We already knew that we were going to be selling both Andre Silva and Yusuf Poulsen. So he came in as the backup to Benjamin Sesko, provided that his release clause did not get triggered of £90 million. If it did, this guy, we actually told him he'd be our starter for this season. But at 18 years old, he does look like a really nice wonder kid, this one, with 2.5-star current ability and that 5-star potential, albeit only 4 stars of that is gold, but still really good finishing, really good first touch, good bravery, and good balance. He should end up being a very, very good striker, can develop hopefully. And behind Benjamin Sesko, fingers crossed, that release clause will not get triggered. But now moving on to the transfers that you knew a little bit less about. So we'll just get rid here of the big graph so I can figure this out in terms of how it happened in chronological order. First up, got rid of a couple of players who were away on loan last season that I did not know about. So Yannick Iguado went to Bochum for £1.7 million. Not a lot of potential, so we decided to sell him. The same was the case there with Nikola Matuljic. He's gone to Hanover for £2.8 million. Just players with no future, so raised there a little bit of extra transfer money. Next up, a couple of deals went through that we scheduled before that transfer window did open up. Batista Mendy, our third choice defensive midfielder from last season, didn't get a lot of game time. Felt that we could shift him on, especially for £21 million. He's gone to Feyenoord, so he's now over in the Dutch league there. To be fair, not a bad price that for a third choice player. As well as that, as I mentioned, got rid of our backup strikers. Andre Silva went to Al Fadi. To be fair, I think we touched on this off the back of getting past Sevilla in the Europa League, either that or the second leg where we got past Monaco. But he was our backup last season. Just didn't really trust him. And behind Benjamin Sesko, quite a big difference in class. And also, at 31 years old, didn't really feel like a good RB Leipzig type of player. So we let go of him there for around £30 million over to Saudi Arabia. And as well as that, a bit of a club legend in Yusuf Poulsen. He has gone to Freiburg for only £2.5 million. It's not too much there, but to be fair, his attributes aren't too good apart from the mentals and that jumping reach. To be fair, is kind of similar to Benjamin Sesko. Is just a bit injury prone these days, though. At 33 years old, did feel like a good time to shift him on. And going back there to the transfers that were made, I think there was one more there on that opening day of the transfer window. And indeed, our first choice ball playing defender from last season, Willy Orban, he joined Andre Silva there at Al Fadi only for £5.5 million. That's probably a little bit on the light side with a player with still some pretty good attributes, but felt like a good time to cash in on him while there was interest, seeing as he is 34 years old. So Orban departed the club, as did a couple of other squad players from last season. And to replace those guys, we did start to get to work at the start of the window. First up, a replacement for Willy Orban, Ousmane Diamonde. Now, to be fair, I think this is already the second time that we've signed him on this year's game. To be fair, though, the last time was back in my beta save with Plymouth, which these days is over a year ago. So I think we're allowed to sign him for a second time, but he comes in from Sporting for around £43 million. You can see that already his value has shot up to about double that. Really good defender in this year's game, still only 23 years old, and comes off the back of a World Cup campaign with the Ivory Coast, but certainly a very good and much younger replacement that for Willy Orban. So Ousmane Diamonde comes in to replace him in that ball-playing defender role. Also coming in on the 1st of July, ended up being our backup goalkeeper. We try to sign someone else, just try and find him here. If we go over to Southampton, who hopefully are still in the Premier League, indeed they are, and we can find down here somewhere Newcastle, because we did try and sign from RZ. Let's just find them there on the tactics screen. Probably not starting, and indeed that's the case, which did make things seem a little bit weird, but we did try and sign Rome Jaden Owosu Adulo from RZ. To be fair, might not have been the best idea because we put quite a few goals past him in the Europa League round of 16, but he did look like a pretty promising player, one of the few that was on our shortlist who did look an improvement on the likes of Van der Vaart. So we tried to sign him, but for some reason he's gone there to Newcastle to be a backup to Mamadashvili. So it didn't seem like the most sensible idea that from the former RZ man, because Mamadashvili still isn't that old in the save and is pretty darn good. They got him off Liverpool off the back of not too many appearances for those guys. It does seem like a bit of a weird transfer, that one, Mamadashvili to Liverpool in real life, but unfortunately did miss out on our first choice goalkeeping target, but still, we did decide to sign Gavin Bazunu as the backup for this upcoming season. A 400k rising to 600k now. Current ability and potential doesn't look too good in terms of star rating, but attribute-wise, not too bad at all, and of course is an Irish international, so he can be the backup for this season, kind of the replacement for Galaxy from last season. If Van der Voort actually ended up being a good player, but for only 400k, that did look like a pretty good deal for a backup goalkeeper, someone a bit better than Schleck, who is a homegrown club goalkeeper who was still here at the club. So Gavin Bazunu came in as a backup in goal. We were still searching for someone to be the first choice. Off the back of that, we made some transfers out. Steve Elkins, a youngster, another one like those top two who didn't have a lot of potential and I think was out on loan from the club last season. He departed to Darmstadt for around 400k. Just below that, we loaned out both Berger as well as Knoll, a couple of promising players who came through some youth intakes here, of course, while we were over at Omiya Arudija. But as well as that, sold another player who was away from the club on loan when we got here last season. And Muyenta, he went to Cologne for 1.3 million, did the Thai International. And going down a bit further, we also sold another player out on loan last season, and Vitesse to Werder Bremen for 1.4 million. But then Christoph Baumgartner for 32.5 million to Inter Milan. Of course, he was getting replaced as the first choice central attacking midfielder by Xavi Simons. His contract was expiring at the end of the season, and he didn't want to renew. So I felt with that transfer in of Simons, we could afford to let him go, especially still with Ben Seguir, who could be used as the backup to Simons. We had enough depth in that central attacking midfield area to cash in on Baumgartner. Was really good for us last season when available. Had a couple of injuries, but still did a pretty good job. But we let him go for just over £30 million after they bought him for 21 million right at the start of this save. So a little bit of a profit there on Baumgartner as he goes over to Inter Milan. That's quite good work from us there, considering, of course, we got Simons in on a free. Off the back of that, we started to do some moves in terms of the ins, and we finally got a first choice goalkeeper off the back of generating those funds from the sale of Christoph Baumgartner. We got him from Ipswich Town, Guilherme Lestes, who is a French goalkeeper in real life coming through Toulouse and does look like a really handy option, a bit of an upgrade on the likes of Van der Voort from last season. You can see there is attributes for that sweeper keeper on support that we do use. He looks pretty darn handy, so hopefully he'll be a real improvement in between the sticks for us this season and is significantly better than someone like Bazunu, and at only 22 years old, should be here for quite a while and get up hopefully to that 4-star potential. So we signed him there from Ipswich Town for just over 30 million, just a little bit more than what we got there for Christoph Baumgartner. A day later, and we did start to sign some squad depth options a little bit better than what we had here previously. First up, Rodrigo Ramirez. Just felt like with the departure of Batista Mendy, we could use someone who's young, promising, and a balling midfielder. So he comes in from Atlas Guadalajara for just over £2 million. Not a heap of potential and not a lot of current ability, but should get plenty of time in the under-19s this season to help develop. Nothing too special currently, but a couple of good attributes there. Hopefully, even if he doesn't reach that 3.5-star potential, we can move him on for a profit. But certainly, that's just a bit of an extra body there that we can use if we get suspensions in that part of the field, which usually does pick up quite a few yellow cards. One down from that, we then signed quite a promising player as an extra left back / centre back, and Kevin Keir from Bristol City, £12 million rising to 15.5. Current ability 2.5 stars, but potential is that 4/5 star, with that final star being a white one. He does look to have a fair bit of potential, does this guy. He's more natural as a centre back, with that height being 1.79 metres tall. I think he could be quite useful as a fullback for us, one of the options in behind the likes of Osterveld as well as David Raum. So we'll try and develop him during the course of the next few years here at RB Leipzig. Certainly, that's one for the future, is the English defender. Going down from that a little bit more. Next up, we signed another youngster, albeit that was off back of actually selling one, in Kerry Reid, a young goalkeeper with not much potential. Somehow got £550,000 in for him there from Fortuna Düsseldorf before, just adding a little bit more depth back to central attacking midfield off the back of that Baumgartner sale. Diaz comes in from Cruzeiro for 7.5 million. Quite similar to those previous signings. Not a lot of current ability with a youngster who should get some game time for the under-19s when, of course, Simons is injured, so he could feature in the Super Cup. but quite a bit of potential. So a young Brazilian who does look really well suited to that shadow striker role, considering that finishing, first touch and balance. So another youngster that we've signed here for RB Leipzig this season. Off the back of that, the next move that we did make was over on the right-hand side. Another youngster there that we did sell in Lorenzo Carrazza. That was the guy that one of the previous managers bought in only at the start of the month. He lasted 15 days before we sold him to Eintracht Frankfurt for a fee of just under £200,000. That should rise to, and off the back of that, Benjamin Henriques, our first choice right back from last season, the KloppBot. I don't think he likes players who get injured late on in seasons. To be fair, this guy did have that injury-prone icon above him when he was at the club. I see now he's left. That's disappeared, which is a bit weird. But to be fair, at 30 years old, we got quite a good price to sell him over to Al Nassr. He left for a fee of bang on £50 million. So it did allow us to try and improve at first choice there at right back. And certainly, we found a way to do that for a lot less, going over back to the left-hand side. And we signed Pedro Malheiro from Juventus. This was for a fee of only £15 million up front, rising to £22.5 million. And he is a little bit of an upgrade on Henriques, even though it might not look like, a little bit younger at 26 years old, and attribute-wise is actually just a touch better. So I think quite good bit of business there for us, getting the Portuguese man in for just under half the fee that we did get there for Henriques. He'll be starting for us there at right back for this upcoming season. Next up, a couple more ins before the big out that did happen quite late on before we come back for this game. In today's episode, to be fair, these next two were just squad players. First up, Nico Paz. Now, to be fair, this might be the worst signing of the lot, because we thought he had a lot more potential here. Did the man formerly of Como that we did sign for $9 million up front, about $11 million. It should rise to, albeit we thought he had 4-star potential. He doesn't. So that transfer, actually not that great. Probably could have just called someone up there from the under-19s to be a third choice on both wings if we do get some injuries to the likes there of Magno or Drago, as well as on the right-hand side, Antonio Nusa, as well as at that stage, Louis Openda. But he comes in as a bit of a squad player, does the Argentinian, as does one spot below that, Yunus Musa from Chelsea. Just a bit of extra depth in that box-to-box midfield role to show you what he looks like in that position. But he was transfer listed by Chelsea, was the 24-year-old American. He looks like a handy squad player that we bring in for that £6.5 million fee, really just making the most there of that extra money that we did have lying around from that Henriques sale, and especially because, of course, in the Bundesliga, you can pretty much have as many players registered as you want, so he can just lie around as a bit of a fringe player. And then a bit of a curveball late on in the window, only 5 days ago in game, Louis Openda, his release clause got triggered by a big European club, and he decided he wanted to go and join a team in a tougher division. He will definitely find it tougher if he's going to play for Blimmin Everton. We sold him for £60 million. I say we did like we had a choice. We didn't, but for some reason he thinks that Everton are a bigger deal than RB Leipzig. They're definitely not anywhere near the Champions League. Not too sure about that move there from Louis Openda, but he has now left the club for a fee of £60 million, so we definitely need to find a replacement for him. That is what the last transfer that we did over on the left-hand side was. Only a couple of days before the Super Cup game, we bought in Mohamed Kudus from West Ham. It's overall for a fee of $95 million. Now, we did have to ask the board to help fund this deal because we actually set it out, so it was $65 million up front. But for some reason, the game decided once we sold Openda that it would jump up to $95 million. So it was a bit of a balls up there. Not too sure how that happened, because otherwise we've actually tried to sign someone a little bit cheaper, because that's a bit too much, truth be told, there for Mohamed Kudus. But thankfully the board there have bailed us out of a little bit of a sticky situation. But Kudus comes in obviously from West Ham and actually looks really useful for that inside forward role that we do use on our right hand side. You can see his value there now ridiculously high. Don't think he will get anywhere near that if we do try and sell him, but still, attribute wise, that's actually a little bit of an upgrade on the player that we sold there in Louis Openda. So Mohamed Kudus comes in as a record signing for us here at RB Leipzig. A little bit concerned that he doesn't like big matches, but hopefully he'll still do a job for us there on the right wing for this upcoming season. So that's what's happening in terms of the transfers. As I said, quite a bit of activity, and here's what our team looks like going into this new season, apart from the fact, obviously, Ben Seguir's in there with the injury that Simon did pick up in the preseason. A quick look at that one. He is out for a further 8 days to 2 weeks with an abdominal strain. So he's going to be missing for the start of this season off the back of the Super Cup. To be fair, if you're going to miss a game, the Super Cup in Europe, not the worst one, but Benzema in there. But otherwise, this is the team that we are rolling with. So Restes comes in at goalkeeper Malhero and Diamonde alongside Luke Caber and Ustavold at the back. The midfield's unchanged. I was hoping to find an improvement on LG Almas, but to be fair, couldn't find one. So that box-to-box midfield role, kind of like what we had back at Omiya Arudija with Ivan Dimas, is proving a little bit hard to find improvements for. Obviously, Kudus at right wing, and would usually have Simons in that central attacking midfield role. So only about 5 changes to our first 11 from last season. More changes coming on the bench. Got the likes there of Marban Bazunu as well as Diaz currently with that injury to Simons. So overall, not a lot of change there in the squad that's going to be playing most games for us this season. It comes more in terms of the extra options who will develop in the under-19s and in cup football. Lots of names there who we have just signed. And also, Robert Ramsat comes in as a third choice striker. He was out on loan last season, not too far away from becoming homegrown club, so thought we'd keep him as a third choice striking option. So that's what our squad looks like going into our first full season here at RB Leipzig. A quick look at what the season preview does look like for the Bundesliga, and we're expected to actually be a little bit better than a team like Borussia Dortmund. You can see there they've got 2 players in the Dream 11 with Kobel in goal as well as Jan Kuto at right back. But we've got Diamonde as a centre-back / defensive midfielder, Simons as an attacking midfielder, and apparently the best striker in the league is Benjamin Sesko. Thankfully, he's still here, but is wanted by Chelsea. And of course, we've still got the rest of the month in terms of the transfer window. They could trigger that release clause. So hopefully he'll stay here for the remainder of this season, at least until January. If we lose him, though, we will have a lot of money that we can spend on a replacement. But fingers crossed we don't lose Sesko and we can actually get him to sign a contract without that pesky release clause. And in terms of our preseason, we have already actually picked up a trophy. We've taken on a couple of the local Leipzig teams. Of course, Lokomotiv Leipzig did a save with these guys last year. If any of you out there hate the guts of RB, but bet them 9-0, bet Kimi 5-0, and BW 13-0. In between that, though, we took on Cuaba in the European South American Club Challenge. This between the teams who win the second-tier competitions in terms of the Copper as well as in UEFA, and absolutely wiped the floor with these guys here with a 6-1 win. So already won a trophy here this season at RB Leipzig with a very convincing win to start a full strength 11 for the first part of this game. But once it was wrapped up around the hour mark, there were 12 subs, so we pretty much brought on entirely changed 11 for most of the second half. So that was a very comfortable win there, Marban off the bench with a double, quite encouraging there from our young Mexican, and also have played the first round of the DFB Pokal, but against a team who are all the way down in a league that's not in this game, and we thrashed them 8-0 with pretty much a full rotation. Marban again looking very dangerous early, picking up 4 goals. So already got off to a pretty good start here to this new season at RB Leipzig, as you expect really for the team expected to be the best of the rest in behind Bayern Munich. But we're going to take on Real Madrid here in the Super Cup, obviously considering they won the Champions League in the final last season over Tottenham. You'll notice they did lose to Feyenoord in a friendly, so maybe that suggests we might have a chance here in the Super Cup. Will be interesting to see how seriously the Don takes this one there at Real Madrid. Their captain is Jude Bellingham these days. These players are going to be pretty stacked compared to what we've got even here at RB Leipzig. To be fair though, partially injured, so he might be missing in this pre-season Super Cup game that we are about to play, you'd imagine. So anyway, with a dislocated shoulder, they won't risk him. Their vice-captain, Eder Militao, still quite young at 29 years old, and a very good defensive option there for Real Madrid. But their key player, Kylian Mbappe, yeah, he's going to be dangerous if they do opt to start him. As well as that, of course, they've still got the likes of Vinicius Jr. So this is a good test for us here before we get stuck into the Bundesliga season, which, to be fair, does look like a pretty kind start we've got in that competition. We take on Nuremberg, a bottom half team from last season. Hamburg expected to be in the relegation fight. Holstein Kiel newly promoted, and Union Berlin, who somehow stayed up last season. So we've got a really kind start to the Bundesliga off the back of this. So hopefully we'll get off to a nice hot start before things get a little bit tougher there come the early stages of October. And also, of course, around then, probably going to get into the start of the Champions League as well. But hopefully we can find a way here to get past Real Madrid and pick up the Super Cup to claim an early season double. And here are the team sheets for our chance here to pick up an early double with the UEFA Super Cup. Got interesting graphics as well here for this, a little bit different looking than the Champions League, which is quite nice to be fair. Usually don't play the Super Cup in saves because usually this game comes off the back of a Champions League win or something. There's Real Madrid going with quite an interesting formation there. Looks like almost a 4-4-2 diamond with both Mbappe and Junior up front. In terms of us, we've got Benseguir in for the injured Simons, and that's a quite cool little trophy area they've got there that the teams do walk through, the 2 trophies that each team has won. To be fair, looks like we're actually going up next to the Champions League, which is a little bit awkward because we didn't win that last season. We won the Europa League, but in between those 2 trophies, the one that we are playing for, albeit quite early on here, is a free kick to Real Madrid and some aerial ping pong inside the box, which thankfully we do somewhat deal with. Hopefully with Diamonde alongside Luke Cable, those are 2 really promising defenders. They can be quite solid for us at the back this season, especially with Restes also coming in goal. But so far dealing with the danger from this opening highlight. They played out there to Singo down their right-hand side, so it's kind of a little bit of a strange team here for Real Madrid. They put that one, though, into the mixer, deflected cross, but thankfully Mbappe from point-blank range can't hit the target as Luke Keeper picks up an early yellow card, but early stages, still 0-0. And we go forward to just past the 10-minute mark for the next highlight in this game, and Real Madrid here with thrown inside the final thirds already on the front foot here. Thankfully, though, a bit of aerial ping-pong from us this time. We actually get the ball here and get a chance on the counter-attack. Talis Magno gets marked tightly, but thankfully actually find someone in space there down our right-hand side. We do well to keep hold of that ball. Kudus will float this one far post there, looking for Talis Magno. Can't quite find him, but now Osterwald plays it in there for Benjamin Sesko, his 2nd goal of the season, because he scored in that previous cup game we did have with the European South American Club Challenge thing, so that will actually help boost our stats for this season, but puts it away with some help there, I think, from the other side of the crossbar. So a great start for us here, our first attack in this game, and he puts it past Courtois actually. No help from the crossbar there, just sneaks it under it. A nice ball that from Osterwald off the back of the previous one that Kudus tried to play in there for Talis Magno. We take a 1-0 lead inside 15 minutes. And just short of the half-hour mark, we're on the attack again here in this game with a 1-0 lead. We get poor past that time, and Real Madrid do get back on the ball a bit. They give it away, and Benseguir shuffles it on for Benjamin Sesko, first time finish, but just blast that one the wrong side of that right-hand post. You can see the stats, Real Madrid with a high XG, but no shots on target so far. We've been quite efficient with our shots on target as Osterwald now picks up a yellow card. Might be a few subs coming up here at half-time. Because off the back of that goal we scored Benseguir, a little message popped up. He might have picked up a niggle. I checked on it. No orange injury yet, but maybe we should play things safe with Simons being injured for the start of our Bundesliga season. So I think here we might make 3 subs at halftime. The obvious ones with those yellow cards, but also young Diaz, he can come on for Benseguir. We'll just give him some game time while he gets the chance here in the first team. As I said, Benseguir apparently picked up a knock, nothing too serious, but we want to play things safe. Could bring on someone like Udrago Mariba, but Diaz is a specialist in that position. Also Colwell for Luke Cable and Raum for Osterwald, but relatively happy with that first half so far, keeping a clean sheet. To be fair, last season, our defence actually not as bad as I made it out. It was the 4th best defence in the Bundesliga, but still did feel like we're a little bit leaky once we got here. Hopefully this season it'll improve. So far going well, 1-0 in front of Real Madrid. And we're just about to hit the hour mark in this game. And I think it's now going to be time for our last 2 subs, because both our first choice wingers are actually striking today on 6.4s, and Kudus as well as Talis Magno. So Udrago can come on at left wing, and Antonio Nusa at right wing. Was hoping I could maybe improve on him in the transfer window, but we've kind of run out of funds and no interest in him either, so could not move him on. But only a half hour away here from a Super Cup win, albeit I say that. And now a highlight here for Real Madrid, a corner. They worked that one edge of the box, but thankfully Markel there just puts that one high and wide. So we're still a goal in front. And we've just snuck our way into the last 10 minutes of this game, still 1-0 in front. So I think here, considering this is for a trophy, we'll just start to time waste a little bit. We won't lower the tempo or the passing directness, but we'll be more disciplined as well as slow the pace down. Let's see if that might help us hold on here to our 1-0 lead, because that would be quite a big trophy to start the season here at RB Leipzig alongside that Euro South American one. Now, free kick in our favour, looking for Diamonde. We don't find him, but we find Martel. His header comes off the woodwork, so a chance for us there to make it 2-0 late on now. Both our wing-backs are on yellow cards, so that could be something Real Madrid look to take advantage of. Definitely not going to get them to ease off tackles, though, in a game that actually means something, albeit not as much as a Europa League or even a Champions League does, of course, with this being a bit of a European preseason friendly. Begin, we're on the attack and Diaz does really well, gets him through the defence. It's a great run from him, but the finish, it comes off the woodwork. And now Real Madrid, we see them on the attack from the restart, albeit that's a poor pass, and Diaz gets us back on the ball. So he's actually looking quite handy since he's come on here for Benziger, albeit loose touch from someone there. And Real Madrid, Vinny Jr. here somehow is left in a ton of space, just dribbles his way past, I think that was Diamonde, but thankfully can't hit the target. That's so far the biggest chance that Real Madrid have had, even though the XG is actually higher than us, but only 2 shots on target. That proves costly. The blimmin' roof in Sweden is getting in the way of our trophy presentation. There's the rest of it, thankfully. We are going to pick up our second European trophy of this save, our third continental one, if you count that preseason one that I won off camera against the team currently 14th in Serie A. They're doing even worse than Bragantino, who, to be fair, are still up near the top of the Serie A. So they've recovered well from that relegation to Serie B a couple of years ago, but that is a great start to the season against the best team in Europe. It is fair to say in Real Madrid, albeit not too sure how seriously they took that game compared to us. But to be fair, we had no Simons, so we were also missing some decent players, but it does look like they rotated their team a little bit more than we did. But still, that's a win over Real Madrid to pick up the UEFA Super Cup. So our transfers helping us get off there to a good start to this new season. That's now 2 trophies alongside that European South American Club Challenge thing. We pick up the UEFA Super Cup, denying Real Madrid of a third one in 5 years. Have just spotted that Tottenham won that a couple of years ago. Of course, they got defeated in that Champions League final last season. Let's just see if they have actually won a Champions League, because that would be a big bug. Thankfully, just the Europa League. Nothing too buggy going on there with Football Manager, but thankfully we get our name on that one also for the first time, just like the Europa League last season. Hopefully that might mean we can do something decent in the Champions League this upcoming season, albeit, as I said, I think Real Madrid did rest a few more key players than we did in that game. But it's an early season double and the fans are very happy with us indeed. But I think that will do it for today's episode, having run through a lot of transfers that we did complete in the off-season. Fingers crossed that's it now, but obviously still a few weeks left of the window, and that Benjamin Sesko situation with the release clause. Obviously, if that gets triggered, we'll need to sign someone to replace him, and we'll have a fair bit of money to do so as well, with that release clause being £90 million. But if you enjoyed the transfers as well as that game that we did play picking up that Super Cup, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. As I said, early season in the Bundesliga does look a little bit easy. We take on Nuremberg, predicted to finish 16th, so right near the relegation zone. Just after that, we then take on Hamburg, predicted to finish 12th, so to be fair, they should be a little bit stronger should the former Champions League winners. But still, even though it's away from home and we did struggle away from home last season, that's probably a game you still expect us to win. Holstein Kiel, newly promoted and 18th, so they're supposed to be the worst team in the league. And Union Berlin, not much better, up in 14th. So a lot of pretty average teams we're going to be taking on early stages of the Bundesliga. So I think we come back maybe in mid-September. We've got Gladbach, who are a pretty handy mid-table team, albeit only predicted to finish 10th. And Augsburg, they're quite handy as well, predicted to finish 11th, but they do look 2 toughest teams that we take on in the first couple of months of the season. And maybe even some stage around then, we might get our first Champions League games. So we'll come back in September for something in tomorrow's episode. And also, if Sesko leaves, show you guys who we replace him with. But to be fair, early stages Marban is looking like he could be a pretty handy replacement with 6 goals in a couple of games. But until tomorrow, we hopefully will look to stay near the top of the Bundesliga and maybe also have a new striker if Sesko gets bought by Moneybags Chelsea. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.